Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Wikimedia Project Showcase. My name is Maria Cruz. I'm a Communications and Outreach Manager in the Community Engagement Department at the Wikimedia Foundation. And today we're going to hear from the last round of project grantees. They're going to be presenting on their projects. They'll have 5 minutes each, and then if we have time, we'll take questions at the end. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Mike. Mike, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Okay. Let's get started with the first slide. I'm going to be the New Zealand Wikimedian at large for the next year, supported by the Wikimedia Foundation. And the problem we have in New Zealand is that although we have a well-educated population and good infrastructure, our participation in Wikimedia projects is not very good, and the coverage of New Zealand and New Zealand-related topics in Wikipedia and other projects is pretty behind compared with other Western countries. So there are some reasons for this. Next slide. Partly is that we're a very isolated country. You can see us there in the middle of the Pacific, and we have a fairly small population. So a lot of participation in large online projects has lagged behind. And one of the projects that I want to try and take over this next year is to improve that. However, there is some good news. Next slide. We are the textbook example of an emerging community. That's a category identified by Wikimedia as having an enormous potential to participate more with a relatively small amount of investment. There's a committed small group of active Wikimedians. All the pieces are in place. It just needs to be put together. So what's our solution? Next slide. In this case, to have me, Mike Dickerson, giant flightless birds, to roam the country, working with institutions from the north to the south of the islands, and trying to both improve their participation and support the small Wikipedia communities in each major city, find a way to encourage them to support each other. So what will I be doing? Next. Several things. One of them is I'll be working with both people and institutions, so it's not a traditional Wikipedian residence moving from place to place. When I'm with institutions, I'll be working hard with them to help them share their resources and open their collections up, and also engage with Wikipedia more in the usual way. I also want to try and build more longer-lasting relationships and encourage each institution to develop a Wikipedia strategy. That is a commitment to some sort of long-term relationship rather than just having a one-off Wikipedian in residence. And finally, getting the institution to support a series of public events. But again, not just one-offs, attempting to try and foster a Wikipedia community and improve the retention rates that we get over some of the shorter term editathons and so forth that have been run in the past. So I've got an example of one project that we might try and build on that I've already been running. Next slide. And that's the Critter of the Week. This began as a collaboration between Radio New Zealand and someone from the Department of Conservation, and they formed a weekly radio show 3 years ago that highlighted a different endangered species in New Zealand, particularly an overlooked one. What I've been doing, and I'm now being recognised as a key part of that team, is organising volunteer Wikimedians to every week build or improve the Wikipedia presence for each of those creatures. And many of these species, despite being endangered and critically endangered, had no Wikipedia presence whatsoever. So this has turned into a self-sustaining, very successful long-running project now, with over 100 species covered, and it even has its own t-shirt. Next. So what I'm hoping is that the Wikimedia community around the world can help with this. and not just the participation of the local editors that we have in New Zealand, which will be important. I want to try and get everyone out of the woodwork to turn up and take part, but we'll also need virtual long-term and long-distance help with coordinating and assisting some of these public events. It's very important, as we all know, that any beginners, but either an institution or a beginning editor, get that support from Wikimedians, or they're very liable to drop out again at the first setback or negative experience they have. So we want to get that support and troubleshooting from helpful Wikimedians. So what's happening next is I begin my first residency on 1st of July in Auckland Museum, and as you can see, I bounce from institution to institution for a year. There's a public project page under that shortcut there where people can keep track of events and give feedback and discussion, and we have a mailing list as well and a Facebook group. They're all linked from that. So I'm hoping that we get a lot more participation in people and institutions throughout New Zealand as part of this project.
Thank you so much, Mike. Next up is Ayla. Ayla?
Hello. My name's Ayla Haddo Flood. I'm speaking from Cape Town. I'll put the video on. And it's very dark here because the electricity's just gone off. So I'm presenting Wiki Loves Women, which is a project of Wiki in Africa. And I'm a co-project leader with Florence Devois, or Aunt Hair, as you know her, through the user group. Next slide, please. So the Wiki Loves Women project is based on the premise that of all biographical articles of Africans on Wikipedia, there's less than 18% are about women. We all know about the systemic bias that is to do with information about Africa on Wikipedia. And then there's the other bias, which is gender bias, which is about coverage of women and subjects relating to women. And when you put all of that onto the African continent, both African-related subjects and subjects related to women from Africa, then it's a massive abyss that happens. And so this Wiki Loves Women is a way of working with civil society organizations that are already working in this area and getting their information onto Wikipedia. So at the moment, the reason why we have these big problems is because African representation on Wikipedia is to do with a lack of editors. There are fewer African-based Wikipedians in the whole of Africa, across the whole entire continent, than there is in Hong Kong, from Hong Kong. And then African subjects are chronically underrepresented on Wikipedia. And by 2030, there'll be 490 million more people in Africa. And the problem that we see is that if they don't see themselves represented on Wikipedia, or their realities represented, why would they bother to read Wikipedia? Why would they bother to be part of this global movement? And the situation at the moment is that only 0.318% of all Wikidata biographical entries are about African women. So that is a massively underrepresented area of the world, and a fascinating area especially for being a woman in Africa. And so we have been working. So what do we do about it? Wiki Loves Women has been operating since 2016. We have been in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Nigeria, where we've celebrated women's achievements, but also tried to represent the realities that women face, both locally, as in locally specific issues, but also internationally or universal issues that they also face. And now, with the assistance of the Wikimedia Foundation, we are also opening up 2 new spaces in Uganda and Tanzania. What we're doing with the groups on the ground in Uganda and Tanzania is to hold editathons and create information and skills transfer spaces around the subject of women's experience in Africa, and to celebrate local women who are doing amazing things. We also ensure that the program creates and strengthens relationships between existing gender-focused cultural and civil society organizations, and we encourage women to be get involved, to be contributors and leaders in the project, and become empowered through the work, and empowered in order to document their history and their experience. And we also encourage the growth and the skills of the local Wikimedia groups and help them to develop through this project as well. So although Wiki Loves Women is a continental effort, it's also, we are opening up, there was very much a focus on West Africa for the last project, and now for the first intervention, and now we're focusing on East Africa in order to make sure that this comes through. We'll also be developing event toolkits, so that people across Africa can also hold Wiki Loves Women events. So how can the Wikimedians help? So there's a lot of things for people who are on the ground in Africa to do, but how can Wikimedians help support Wiki Loves Women? And we are looking for people who would be experienced Wikimedians to provide mentorship and support for teams on the ground, in both dealing with the events but also dealing with on-wiki issues. We have several article drives and Wikidata drives that we would love to have Wikimedians all over the world being involved in, and we would like your support in that. And then editors are always needed to create and improve articles featuring African women on Wikipedia in your languages. So just to change the dynamic. What's up next for Wiki Loves Women? Well, apart from launching the project in Uganda and Tanzania, and also launching the event toolkits, which will be on later on in this year, we're also doing a Wikidata drive in October, and we would love for you to be there and to help and offer your support. If you want to know more, you can find us on the Wiki Loves Women page, website, as well as the Wiki Project page in both English and French. And we hope to see you on social media as well.
Thank you so much, Ayla. And
thank you.
Yes. Next up is Heather and Gina with Black Lunch Table.
Hi, thank you. I'm Heather Hart. I'm a Brooklyn-based visual artist and co-founder of the Black Lunch Table.
Hi, I'm Gina Valentine. I'm a Chicago-based visual artist and also co-founder of the Black Lunch Table. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Black Lunch Table. It was first established in 2005, and our primary aim is the production of discursive sites where cultural producers engage in dialogue on a variety of different critical issues. Through these events, we seek to mobilize a democratic rewriting of contemporary cultural history by animating discourse around and among the people who are living that history. So our project's organized around literal and metaphorical lunch tables, and our project takes this phenomenon as its starting point.
At our editathons, we train participants to create and update Wikipedia articles pertaining to the lives and works of artists of the African diaspora. Organizing editathons mobilizes a collective authoring of a specific set of articles and ultimately empowers people with awareness that no history is static. This slide, yes. According to the 2015 Wikimedia survey, about 91% of editors are male and about 77% are white. So we are faced with the challenge of how can we ensure an inclusive environment for people of color on Wikimedia? How can we see ourselves, and how can we inspire a more diverse pool of editors? Next slide.
So let's see, what barriers face potential editors of color? So art history and biographical articles in Wikipedia pertaining to people of color are underrepresented. There's a huge lack of information about otherwise significant visual artists of the African diaspora on Wikipedia. And as you all know, Wikipedia is a great place for finding information, or particularly for students for starting important research for their projects, and not being able to find what you're looking for when you're looking for a Black artist on Wikipedia is difficult, problematic. Navigating Wikipedia can be intimidating to those who aren't in specific academic or urban areas. So finding an inroad into even using the platform is difficult. Without adequate mentorship and guidance, new editors often quit editing. So we are interested in how we get people to return, so not just come to one editathon, but to continue coming back and have questions and to grow beyond the event. Next slide.
So how do we dismantle these barriers? Our project focuses on the lack of representation, authorship, and power in the art and history of people of color on Wikipedia. BLT aims to produce discussion of these issues at literal and metaphorical lunch tables. Next slide.
So what will we be doing exactly? So we want to we're a nomadic project. So Heather's based in New York and I'm based in Chicago, and we also have team members who are based throughout the rest of the country. And so we consider ourselves to be a nomadic project, which also means that when we produce events, we go to different cities and engage with different communities. We're most interested in bringing our project to underserved communities of color. We want to provide mentorship and guidance to new editors, so being present in real life and helping people understand how to contribute to Wikipedia is very important. We want to inspire new editors to document the art, history, and culture created by artists of the African diaspora, and of course bring attention to underdocumented visual artists. And encourage editors of all racial demographics to contribute to create and improve these articles. But I think it might be useful here to say something about the photo challenge.
That was in our what's next.
Oh, okay.
Next slide, please. So how can the Wiki community help achieve these goals? One, of course, is mentorship and support of new editors. Because we're nomadic, we ask that Wikimedia community members come to our events wherever we go, and we would love to see you there and help support a sustained relationship with new editors. BLT has created a list of over 1,000 artists of the African diaspora who either have no Wikipedia article and need one, or need their article improved. So that's another way to contribute to the project. What's next for the project? Next slide, please. Next slide.
Lots of things. So the Black Lunch Table project on Wikipedia will build on our existing track record that has been established since 2015. Of Wiki facilitating editathons across North America with a goal of global outreach starting with expansion into Africa and Europe in 2018. Our goals for the near future are to increase the reach and develop the momentum of our nomadic project via proxies and project management, thereby increasing the presence of Wikipedia in those communities. having proxies will enable us to continue to develop the project on a large scale while maintaining the growth of connections to individual people and individual communities. Also, we would like to double our 2017 outcomes for the coming year. We're looking to afford more new editors one-on-one access to training to help them get the editing bug and fostering desire to become a return editor. We're working to foster the development of new editors so they become continual editors and contributors to our larger project. And our photo initiative. The current Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say the photo challenge that we have out right now, we're trying to fill Wikipedia with missing photos from these biographies that we're focusing on. And we have a Juneteenth photo challenge out right now that ends on the 19th, and voting is only on the 20th. And all of that can be linked to on our Meetup page. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much. Next up is Science Source, and Julia, I believe, is presenting.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Julia. I am here with Peter Murray Rust and Charles Matthews, and today we'll be talking to you about Science Source. So Peter will start.
So, Doctor, should I read Wikipedia?
I do.
And so do thousands of doctors worldwide. So the question is it reliable, and how do we make it reliable for everyone? Next slide, please. So it's huge. By the time we finish this presentation, 50,000 people will have visited English medical Wikipedia, and that's a huge amount. We need to make sure these articles are accurate and up to date. Next slide, please. So the medical literature is huge. There's 1 million papers a year, and what we have to do is find those which are most important for Wikimedia editors, medical editors, find those which are reliable, and then create tools to integrate them into the Wikimedia pages, both Wikipedia and Wikidata. Next slide, please.
Okay, so how are we going to do this? And Maria, if you could please click on the link, we have a little video to show.
Yes, we are loading the video now.
Science Source, a project to help develop medical content for Wikipedias in hundreds of languages. Science Source will leverage Wikidata's power of translation into all the languages that have an ISO code. It will call on the guideline developed by Wikimedia's vibrant medical editor community to pick out the best sources for clinical medicine. Downloading a large selection of open access papers, it will use a wiki platform to develop its own community. Drawing on text and data mining techniques, Science Source will innovate by using an annotation structure to harvest community fact-checking and views in a machine-readable format. An algorithm combines the human inputs with all relevant metadata to provide facts for Wikidata that are referenced to the best kinds of sources. These facts can then pass into info boxes localized in any language. What's more, Science Source can kickstart the project of building a content management system for the whole open access literature.
Best division of labor.
You are back now. We were listening to the video before, so you're back on. Yeah. Now
okay.
We can hear you now, but we couldn't before. So yeah.
Okay, fine. I see.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go back and explain in more detail what we're doing here with a recap. But first of all, explain the technical term semi-automation. For me it means the best division of labor between humans and aiming to have machine-assisted work, not machines taking all of the decisions. So the first point was about the really substantial size in the medical literature. Outsource articles we're working on are going to be pre-selected as likely to be the important ones. the source criticism for medical articles is subtle. That is, which are the references that a doctor, a clinical doctor, would accept. That's a subtle matter. We're going to try and make it more algorithmic. That is, put it in a way that a machine could be helping take those decisions by taking all the factors into account. And authoring, with such a big audience, authoring is clearly a serious matter. What can we do about that? Well, Wikidata stores facts that are passed into info boxes, and that takes some of the strain off humans having to copy facts across from anywhere. They are pulled in automatically. So that is our basic plan for what we're doing. Participation, how will people participate in? Yeah.
Can we have the next slide?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So the next slide is this. I'll summarise what we're doing in the early stages, at least. Firstly, we're going to set up what's called a focus list. This will help us select, with the community's help, those articles which we should be concentrating on and downloading to CienceSource and processing. The second part is the human input and decisions on CienceSource comes on annotations. People go and annotate things to assure us that the facts that were extracted to Wikidata have been checked multiple times for their actual presence in the paper. We want humans to validate their presence in the paper before we move them across. So both of these things are very much community-based. They're volunteer-based, and they'll be very open, and we'll be inviting people to come along and do those things with us.
Next slide.
Right, so what are we doing next?
Well, I shall be at Wikimedia in Cape Town. Yeah. And the things I'll be presenting on mostly at the hackathon, but I'm going to be there throughout, and I hope to have a stall and so on. But one workflow is this focus list of papers. That's going to be fully active then, and I'll be encouraging people and explaining quite what we're looking for. The second workflow, the annotations, I think we'll have a demo and certainly have information about how that will work when you have all the software up and running, complete pipeline. The third thing is it will interest software people. How would we design this algorithm? It's actually going to be based very much on the Sparkle language, but we'll still be at a brainstorming stage there where we're looking for input for people who feel they have insights into this very subtle business of the clinical, the needs of clinical medicine in terms of referencing. So we'll be talking about that and certainly actively getting on with understanding what algorithm should consist of.
Okay.
And that's for me.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. And that's the contact page as well. And next up is Wiki Loves Monuments. Mohammed, you are up for presentation.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammed, and I'm a member of Loves Monuments International team, talking to you from San Francisco. You will notice that the format of our presentation is a little different from the previous ones. It was because it was Maria's suggestion, because we are a photography contest. So we let photos speak for themselves. Next slide, please. I'd like to start with some facts about Wiki Loves Monuments. Wiki Loves Monuments is the world's largest annual photography contest. It started in 2011 in the Netherlands and became international the following year. And so far, 84 different national competitions have participated in it. And through Wiki Loves Monuments, close to 2 million photos of built cultural heritage from around the world have been uploaded on Wikimedia Commons. And 450,000 of these photos are already used in Wikipedia articles. And we have also added 53,000 new contributors to Wikipedia. Next slide, please. But why does this photography contest matter? Simply because Wikipedia is not complete with just words about monuments. Or as the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. We believe no word could capture the beauty, colorfulness, and vibrancy of the Khandova temple in India during Bandara festival as masterfully and as effectively as the photo that you see on this slide, which was our top winner last year in the international competition. Next slide, please. By leading and facilitating an annual federated global low barrier photo competition, we've managed to freely document and raise awareness of built cultural heritage. We have managed to increase contributions to the Wikipedia project, and we have managed to bolster local Wikimedia communities. Over the years, not only have we brought tons of photos to Wikipedia, but we've brought people together based on a shared passion for built cultural heritage. We have also inspired other similar competitions such as Wiki Loves Earth or Wiki Loves Africa, and etc. And we have developed tools such as Montage and Monumental that are now being used far beyond Wiki Loves Monuments itself and by many other similar projects. Next slide, please. In the photo you see, the areas highlighted in red are the nations who participated in Wiki Loves Monuments in 2017. We really love to see a completely red map of the world. And if you're wondering how you can get involved, there are multiple ways. You can become a Wiki Loves Monuments ambassador by starting a national Wiki Loves Monuments campaign or by helping an existing one. You can submit photos of your favorite monuments or encourage your friends to contribute their photos and tell them about us. And you can help the Wiki Loves Monuments International team with monuments data migration to Wikidata, as well as UI and UX design and communications. Next slide. I know this was a very brief introduction, but I encourage all of you to check out our website and our social media. Definitely join our public mailing list to stay up to date on our activities. And remember that Wiki Loves Monuments is held in the month of September, so make sure to mark your calendars and follow us on our communication channels to get the latest news. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed, for presenting about Wiki Loves Monuments, and in a very fast manner as well. Next up is Isarra with Wiki Project X.
Hello, I'm Isarra. Confirming this is actually working.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Sorry, I worry about these things. So, hello, I'm working on two grants, actually, Wiki Project X and Timeless. So, we'll start with Wiki Project X, which is basically a follow-up on a grant previously, which was of the same name. So, we're actually working on an existing piece of software here regarding Wiki projects. Now, Wiki projects, they're community spaces that are dedicated to a specific subjects or goals. They're mostly an English Wikipedia thing, but they're also present on a few other projects. There's a bit of a problem around them, not just them, but all of Wikipedia and how a lot of the interfaces came up. So this is a quote by a Wikipedian who's just talking about how they do things. What he said is, Wikipedians aren't designers, they're writers. Their idea of designing a workflow is making you read a manual, which actually kind of makes sense, because what they're doing is essentially writing a manual. The problem is, for their non-manual things, they do probably need better spaces. So, next slide. So, it's all just formatted as, everything is formatted as articles. This is including wiki projects, talk pages, all the things. The thing is, this actually does work for a lot of wiki projects. It just provides a lot of it creates a lot of overhead for setting them up, for maintaining them, for editing the projects. So that is a bit of a problem. Next slide. Here's an example of Wiki project currently. Wiki project Cats. It appears to be a fairly active project. They actually do stuff. If you could look at the page, it's just it's an article, essentially. They just laid out everything they do. The links are all there. It works. It's probably not ideal. The real problem is if you look at what's on the right, that's the source of the page. It's not terribly easy to write because it's just source. Next slide. So, as part of the previous round of Wiki Project X, we created a prototype project. There are a prototype set of templates that help try to organize how these would work. Basically, by taking the specific structure that wiki projects normally follow and basically implementing that, templatizing it, so that people can just fill in the content and have the format provided for them. The first iteration we called Wiki Project X. After that, we started working on an extension, which is Collaboration Kit. Next slide. So, Collaboration Kit basically does what the original Wiki Project X prototype does, but this one is an extension with a much better interface for the editors to interact with it, because there were serious problems that came up with the original prototype. So that's it on the right. If we go to the next slide, the slightly bigger picture, it's just, here's the content, they've got an introduction, there's tracking discussions and whatnot. That's actually provided by a bot, I think. Next slide. Now, the source editor is where it really is different, because they have a form, essentially, so that they can fill in, they select images, colors to customize it, and then they set a display name or not. It just equals the page name otherwise, and then they just fill in introduction. All the content is subpages for better organization, hopefully. The problem here, of course, is it's not actually complete. This is still also a prototype, so we do need to keep working on this. We need to get it deployed in particular, so next slide. Basically, we need to get this extension deployed. We need to make it stable. We need everybody's support to actually test it. So we've got a newsletter currently that people can sign up for, just to keep up to date on what's going on with that. I will update that soon with a new update, because the last one is just announcing that I was submitting another grant proposal. Obviously, that went through. I need to tell everybody. But also for anyone who's a developer or has their own wiki project, they can try testing that on TestWiki, or they can clone it onto their own local wiki and try it out there. Always love bug reports. There's also community hub pages where you can submit stuff, or comment or whatever, or just come yell at me. That always works. So for anyone who has a wiki project, I want to hear from you if you're interested in this. Just any feedback, any information, whatever. So, next. What's next for the project is we need to actually test it. We need to get it out there, hear from everybody. Anyone who wants to learn about it can also look at the grant proposal itself. And please talk to me, follow the pages. Thanks, that's... Yeah.
Thank you, Isarra. I think you are up next again with Timeless. So go ahead.
Yep, that was the first grant. The second grant, Timeless, is vaguely related and currently completely incompatible with Wiki Project X, which is something I need to fix. So, Timeless. It is... Next slide, please. Timeless is a new interface for Wikipedia and the other projects. The current interface, Vector, was deployed in 2010. This doesn't really meet our needs anymore, and this has come up time and again with people trying to submit their own unsolicited redesigns and various attempts at making a new skin from all sides. The question, though, is how do we actually do that? Because nothing has worked in the past 8 years. We are still using Vector. We do have a different mobile interface, but that's mostly just for mobile. Next slide, please. The main problems with Vector specifically is just, well, it doesn't support mobile, and a lot of the workflows are not the greatest. It's basically monobook, but slightly shinier. So that actually dates back to 2004. You can see why there might be a few problems there as technologies have changed, how people interact with computers have changed, the different devices that have come up. Minerva does solve some of the problems with mobile support by being a skin specifically targeted at mobile, but it's different skin, so it has a different interaction design. People interact with it differently. Let me switch to the next slide. So here on the left, you can see that this is Vector, which I'm sure you're familiar with. On the right is the mobile site, which is in Minerva. They're different skins. They both mostly work for what they're doing, but the problem is you interact with them differently. The menu's in one place on one, it's a totally different place in the other. There's different tools that are available. It's not the greatest transition between the two, especially if you are like an active user and you want to use all these tools, which may or may not even be available on the mobile site, or you just don't know where they are because, again, it's a different layout. So, next slide. So I'm not sure if this really is entirely the solution, but it's a path forward to the solution, I hope. A new skin, Timeless, has been deployed across the Wikimedia projects. It attempts to be a single skin that supports both desktop and mobile needs. I did not entirely create it intended as such, but people have really took off with it, and now we're working on it to try to make it work for that. So basically, with this thing deployed and with the participation of everybody involved, we have a great opportunity to use it as a testing ground to develop features, to test what things are actually important, what are the problems that are directly facing users and whatnot, and also determining what really needs to be maintained when people test out Timeless and things just don't work the way they need, which turns out is a lot of things. So, yeah. This may also help us to determine better what developers also need from the skinning backend, because a lot of things are currently specifically targeted at vector, which does not really make for a very effective long-term development. Things, they don't last very well. So, anyway. Next slide, please. This is Timeless. It's roughly the same layout as Vector in full screen desktop mode, except there's an extra sidebar because if you've got that much space, we might as well use it. People have also complained about readability problems with the text getting really long on large screens on Vector and Monobook because they're not fixed width. They just fill this space entirely, so it sets a fixed width and then uses that extra space for more tools and basically make you so you find things like languages and categories more easily. At least that's the idea. Next slide. And this is mobile. On the left, you have what was Vector before mobile front end. It's actually better now. The navigation's kind of missing, but if you load Vector on the mobile site, it is actually fairly readable. You have to go to the bottom of the page for the navigation, but it's there. So things have even gotten better in that department. In the middle, we have mobile front end, which is the one that's actually targeted at readers and whatnot, which it works fairly well for that. And then on the right, this is Timeless's mobile interface. So as you can see, there are a few more tools that are just immediately available. Things like history and even the thing saying it needs more citations are just right there so people can see them. The user tools are also more immediately available and just things like that. It's not perfect, but I think this is probably the way we want to go and surface more of these tools for people to use. Yeah, but of course we need to get actual input from people. I need to hear from people, see what they say about this. Does it actually work and whatnot? So, yeah, if everybody testing this is very valuable. So if you just test it, see what you think, file bugs, there may be repeats, but if you find that you have submitted a repeat bug, that is perfectly fine. It will get merged into the main one, and then you can just argue about that on that if you want, or yell at me, or submit patches, whatever. People have been contributing in a variety of ways already, and it's been kind of amazing. I'm also planning to set up some central hubs like we have for Wiki Project X currently, but a lot of projects have done their own things too. Could you go back? So even on the French Wikipedia, I don't know how readable this is, but they actually have I think it's a help page for Timeless. The talk page on that is just people providing feedback and complaining about things, which has all been submitted upstream to me by a few developers. If anyone on any project wants to do something similar to that, that would be so helpful. It's been amazing hearing from the French Wikipedia about this, and a lot of the French projects have just been amazing on this. Okay, next. But yeah, what's next is just the future. Timeless, or possibly whatever Timeless actually brings us to. Essentially, we need to go somewhere with our interfaces, so if you're interested in seeing where this is going, there's the skin page on MediaWiki.org, there's also the project pages, so there's the grant page, there will be the hub soon. I will set up a newsletter for this one, but I haven't done that yet, and yeah, file bugs, yell at me, whatever. I'd love to hear from all of you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Isarra. And next up is Philippe with CSpring.
Yes, hello. Thank you. My name is Philip Kubetsky. I'm one of the international organizers of CSpring, together with volunteers from Bulgaria, Romania, Poland, and Latvia. Next slide, please. So what CSpring is basically like it's a writing contest held in 25 languages and 28 communities. And it's organized on a local level. So basically every language or every community organizes its local contest on their Wikipedia. And we as an international team roped the whole thing together and organized like the grants application and the funding of the prizes that are awarded after the contest is over. So just to explain a bit more about C, C stands for Central and Eastern Europe. So basically like these languages include everything from German in Austria to Kazakh in Kazakhstan. There are some languages missing in this C region, like for example Czech and Slovenian. But in general, like most of the major languages in this region are taking part in this contest. So what CSpring is in particular about is setting up a contest that supports article creation on various topics in the region. Like in your local contest, you are supposed to write about every other country besides your own, which also fosters like cooperation and understanding of among these countries, and leads to like a lot of articles relevant to all the Wikimedians in this region. For this season, for this year, we've had 8,900 articles created or changed, and that's quite a lot, I would say. So what else is this about? It's about like creating articles about shared culture and history in this region. It's a region that's like been plagued by a lot of turmoil in the last 100 years, and this contest is a way of like bringing all these countries and communities together and fostering the understanding of each other. And one of the main benefits of this contest is that like the local organizer can focus on actually doing the interesting work. I think that's on the next slide, please. Yeah. So every local organizer is able to focus on organizing the contest itself and supporting the local volunteers instead of like having to deal with things like grants and funding. It also like the contest itself helps like in reducing content gaps for marginalized groups, because there's also focus on writing articles about every country. So even the small communities like the Baltic states or certain areas of Russia, which also take part as their own communities with their own languages, they also share the spotlight with the bigger communities like Ukraine or Poland. Yeah, that's that. Next slide, please. So, how can other people from other countries support this contest? You can, like, CSpring is not limited to Central and Eastern Europe. It's possible to like become a local organizer in your country and get some funding for local prizes. The only thing that you can't do is create an article list for your country, because you have to be in Central or Eastern Europe to be able to do that. But like we're always happy to have communities outside of Central and Eastern Europe also contribute to this contest. In the past we've had Iran and Arabic take part. And yeah, like there's always room, even if you're not in those countries, to contribute to the article lists and other aspects of the contest in a particular Wikipedia. So what's next for CSpring? There's always 2019. Because CSpring was run from March 21st until the end of May, we've already done our project basically. But we're always we're already starting to plan for 2019 and trying to rope in more communities. I think one aspect that CSpring is missing is definitely smaller minority languages that don't have their own country or own big community. So that's definitely something we're going to focus on in the next few years. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip. Next up is Marty, who is going to briefly talk about 3 more projects that were funded this round, but have not had a chance to present today.
Hello, everyone. So the remaining 3 projects are Wikidata JS, which is a project from Max Lath, who's built several tools before to support JavaScript developers in better using Wikidata. And this project is going to take some time to integrate those tools better and create a more seamless experience of support for JavaScript developers in relation to Wikidata. Wiki Loves Rural Areas by Menace is going to be a offline outreach project in Asturian, the area of Spain, with Asturian Wikipedia in the Bimenes area of Spain. He has a tight partnership with a small town there where the city government and the local community have really embraced Wikipedia, and they're going to do a really deep, concentrated effort into getting more content on Wikipedia as a community. And we think that this project will be interesting because there isn't as much offline outreach that happens in rural areas. A lot of the efforts tend to be in urban centers, and so we're interested to see what we'll learn about this model. And then the outreach in northern Nigeria project is an exciting one where we're hoping to launch Hausa Wikipedia in greater numbers. Right now there's a community there that's out of incubator, but it's not super active compared to what one might expect for the size of the Hausa language community. And so a really active pair of volunteers are going to try to do partnership building and host events and see if they can jumpstart that Wikipedia into a larger scale. That's it for those 3 projects.
Great. Thank you so much, Marty. And we wanted to share very briefly where to find projects and offer support. So I'm going to try this live. If you go to this link, this is the landing page for project grants on metawikimedia.org. If you go to edit and review proposals, here you will find the funding proposals for the last fiscal year. And clicking through will take you to the different projects, and you can sign yourself up on each proposal page. As you can see, here are the projects that were presented today. So I think with that, we are coming to the end of our showcase. And I'm wondering if people online or here in the room have any questions for our presenters, or if you have any comments that you would like to share. We're also taking comments through chat on YouTube.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We just wanted to thank Isara for designing the logo of WikiFactMine, which was a project previous to ScienceSource, which we have adopted for ScienceSource as well. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do your one for this one soon. I just need the colors that you want with the text on it. Sorry, I thought I commented on that earlier, but I totally forgot.
Well, no, never mind. In the sense, one of our team has done that adaptation.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Okay. That's it's been done now. But
all right, thanks for letting me know. I could find it on the wiki, so
yeah.
We have one comment from the YouTube chat that from Drashti Pandya. She says that her one expectation or hope from all these projects is that people can start using open source messaging platforms like Telegram, Signal, IRC, because she has seen people using Facebook a lot, and so she's proposing this as an alternative, something to consider maybe. I'm gonna see if there are any comments on Blue Jeans. A lot of appreciation for Wiki Loves Monuments pictures. Yeah, I think if there are no other questions or comments, I think that will be all. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining here in the room, and thank you for joining online and watching the stream, and thank you especially to the grantees for taking the time to craft such wonderful stories in such a meaningful way, and we look forward to more collaboration.
Thank you.
Thank you.